So there we have it. That was the 2020 MotoGP World Championship season. It started in July, it was contested over 14 rounds in Europe, Joan Mir won the title, everyone wore masks and celebrations were enjoyed at a social distance. Well, they were supposed to be. Off track, it's been odd, and on track, it's also been odd. 9 different race winners, 15 different riders scoring a podium. But the racing, well, that has been just as excellent as ever. The final round in Portimao wasn't a classic per se, but as the sun sets on a season few will forget, let's do this one last time with Crash.net's winners and losers from the Portuguese MotoGP. I'm not crying, you're crying. We'd almost forgotten about Marc Marquez until Miguel Oliveira started channeling him en route to an extraordinary second MotoGP win of the season in Portimao. In a polar opposite of his shock maiden win in Styria, a race that he led for all of about 100 metres, albeit the last 100 metres to the line, Oliveira was so dominant in his lights to flag success from pole position that he was a mere dot on the horizon for anyone following behind. Of course, his Portuguese followers, a fan base who will have multiplied tenfold this weekend as he went from a Portuguese sporting star to a veritable god, won't have forgotten him quite so easily as they cheered him on each time he ended a lap with an increasing margin back to his rivals. It's just a crying shame that they weren't there to witness it in person. Bloody coronavirus. True, you can look at Oliveira's intimate knowledge of the track, not least one that other riders were finding harder than usual to master, but at no point did you see an ounce of pressure emanating from his cool demeanour. Let's just say you'll never see a more crushing display than that one. With wins in Styria and Portugal, it goes without saying that this was an excellent second season for Oliveira, but look beyond the headlines and there is more to his season than meets the eye. Not always the best qualifier, and riding a Tectoir KTM that, while competitive, wasn't exactly the best in the field either. 8 top 6 finishes is a very impressive return. He came into the year with a point to prove after KTM passed him over for Brad Binder in the factory squad, and boy did he prove it. Only a few races ago it would have been a stretch to imagine Franco Morbidelli overhauling Fabio Quartararo to end the year as the top Yamaha rider, but then we gave up on predicting anything this season a long time ago. It has been a truly impeccable end to the year for Morbidelli, with 3 wins, 5 podiums and 2 pole positions, earning the Italian a deserved silver medal, and some vindication after being shuffled down the Yamaha hierarchy coming into the year. As for Quartararo, well, he ends the year in 8th. Yamaha's lack of direction on the 2020 spec Yamaha M1 can go a long way to explaining why Morbidelli, on a sort of hybrid 2019-2020 bike, emerged on top. But it was nonetheless a season that gathered momentum and is a credit to a rider that's had to really knuckle down this year. Speaking in the post-race press conference, read between the lines and Morbidelli feels vindicated, having been reduced to what he describes as a 4th-string Yamaha. This is a result he will gain strength and satisfaction from. This is a result he will gain both strength and satisfaction from. Not just because he was second overall, but because it's a cheeky finger up at those who were perhaps too hasty to dismiss him over Quartararo. On the day he watched Oliveira once again steal the headlines as a KTM race winner, we should take time to pay tribute to Pol ESPARGARO, the man who went a long way to making that success actually happen. His final race in KTM colours before a move to Repsol Honda, deep down ESPARGARO will be wondering whether he's made the right decision, as his labour, from the difficult first days to the hours and hours of development riding, finally bore some ripe fruit in 2020. Alas, that fairy tale first win didn't come his way, and he will admit to feeling a bit jealous as he watched his teammates celebrate. But ends to end, ESPARGARO was KTM's talisman in 2020, just as he had been in previous years. 4th place in Portugal marked his 7th top 4 finish of the season, lifting him to 5th overall. That's a result the team would have never imagined pre-season. In fact, what a year it's been all round for KTM. We expected a step forward, but 3 wins, 8 podiums and a tremendous strength and depth across the 2 teams is a return few can begrudge. It's a shame then that ESPARGARO is leaving, and KTM will really miss him. But with Binder and Oliveira leading its efforts in 2021, it has a future brighter than that iconic livery. It's the end of the season, so crack out the montage. But this year we must pay tribute to everyone involved in MotoGP, from Dorna to the teams to riders to every single person that do their bit, however small, to keep the show on the road in what has been the most challenging and unprecedented of scenarios. We had to wait for the restart, and there were compromises. But once the race was underway, at least for an hour on a Sunday, it was like, Corona who? There were cases of the virus, as Valentino Rossi and Iker Lecuona know only too well. But MotoGP incubated itself effectively, teams and sponsors coped without the spectators, and the riders put on a fantastic show from start to finish. So to you all, we raise a toast and say cheers. After the joy, the celebrations, the praise it was lavished just 7 days ago, well, what a difference a week makes for Suzuki. It was a really quite awful first weekend as champions for Suzuki, as the very fabric of its run to the top came unstuck, with Joan Mir retiring from the race with technical issues, Alex Rins' pace dropping off a cliff, and its form looking very inconsistent. One thing that hadn't changed though was qualifying, except that that's because it was quite bad. Joan Mir and his de facto number 1 Suzuki started 20th. He then got caught up in 2 incidents on lap 1, the latter of which was a thump into the side of Pecco Bagnaia, enough to dislocate his arm. It means the Triple Crown goes begging, with even Yamaha managing to leapfrog it for second, albeit almost solely on the strength of Franco Morbidelli. However, this will be a bitter moment in a season of sweeter success, because Mir is, after all, the champion, with Alex Rins in third, making it a fantastic outcome for the team as a whole. Ducati may be champions, but at the end of the day, it took 6 bikes to defeat Suzuki's 2, so who was the real winner really? Sorry everyone, we know he's a legend, but this final round, and to be honest the entire second half of the season, even ignoring his break with coronavirus, for Valentino Rossi was a desperate one. The aforementioned issues with the Yamaha M1 again lay blame for much of this, and to his credit he finished on Maverick Vinales' tail and was ahead of Quartararo in Portimao. But it typified a year in which Rossi wasn't just off the pace, he was completely anonymous. So it wasn't the crowning finale for Rossi before he swaps navy for teal in 2020, but a change of scenery might well be just what the doctor ordered next season.